Hi YouTube, welcome back to The Truth of the Past. Today we have Shelly Clark White. She was in Honeycomb. She was a dancer for the Ike and Tina Turner Review, and she danced for Little Richard. Hey Shelly.
Hey, Jarian, how you doing?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you all good.
Okay.
So we want to ask you like how you started and when did you want to start singing?
Oh, like from childhood, right? Okay.
Yes,
I,
ma'am.
I was like in a pageant when I was maybe 3 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave me this song to sing. How much is that doggy in the window? Rough, rough. And from that, my parents saw that, oh boy, she can sing a little bit. She stayed on tune, and she looks like she's got some talent. So from that point on, they started grooming me for the stage.
Oh, wow.
That was,
So
hi,
so
Lakia.
Hello.
so
Hello.
in your other interviews, you said that you started singing with your brother. So how was it singing with your brother? And did it get kind of frustrating with him? Did he not want to practice sometimes? Was he playing around too much?
Well, when we were kids, we had an act, and we were called the Clark Kids. And so we were working all the time as kids. And he was doing movies, and I was traveling with Cab Calloway. And lots of times we would take a break. And at one point, we did a show on Broadway, and that lasted for like 7 or 8 months. And we recorded an album, and it was called Calypso Songs for Children. I think I was 7 and he was 9. But at that time, we were still on Broadway, performing on Broadway every night for 8 months, except for Mondays, because Mondays the Broadway goes dark. So later on, we were still in New York at that time. We moved out to Los Angeles, and then we said, well, we got to start doing more singing and less dancing, because we were singers and dancers. So when I graduated high school, it was like summer of '65. I was still going to school at USC on a scholarship, and I was being trained in classical opera music. And my teacher was getting really frustrated because I'd come in hoarse and I couldn't sing, and she would say, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, on the weekends I sing with my brother. We're like folk song act." And so we would do things like Battle of the Bands and Troubadour and places like that. And so she said, well, you got to make a decision. You're either going to do classical, you're going to do secular music. And so I quit the classical stuff. And in reality, there wouldn't have been that many roles for Black women then anyway. So uh, so he and I just, we just started singing around town, and that's when I think I got the call from Ann Kane regarding the Ikettes, and she came to my house to audition, and she said, "Okay, you fly out tomorrow." And I said, "Fly out tomorrow? Are you serious?" And she said, "No, they need somebody right away," and so I flew right out. So, okay, you can ask me something else.
Okay. So Lakia, do you want to ask her something?
Yeah,
Um,
Lakia, you want to ask me something?
well, how was the schooling going? When y'all was on tour, you and your brother, how did y'all work the school part out as well as the road?
We had to go to private school. Excuse me. And we were in private school with quite a few child entertainers at that time. And Patty McCormick, the girl that was in the Bad Seed, and Hines and Dad, the little Hines kids, we were all in private school, because when you're working, you just can't be in school in the day. And so I was really bad at math later on, because, excuse me, they don't make you study and all of that stuff. You're kind of basically on your own. Then when I started traveling, my mother would tutor me, and there was only so much she could do. But I always had poor math skills because of that.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's why I was wanting to know because, it seems like, it would be a struggle. I homeschooled our kids
Mm,
um, when from junior high, from eighth grade all the way to seniors. And so it's hard because, even though I've been to college and everything, the level of education now is more different than when it was when I was going to school. So I didn't know how it was back in your day of being on the road and being at school at the same time. So that's kind of neat.
it was kind of difficult. Um, but I just remember my parents had to pay a whole bunch of money to put us in the private school. So it's good we were making money because that private school, it was a grip, to go to go there. And then it didn't seem like they forced us to really do anything. So I don't know how great the private schools were then. So
Well, yeah, that's true. I know today the private schools are very strict.
yeah,
It's more harder. It's more time and patience you got to put into it now. So we
that's right.
start at 7 o'clock in the morning and we don't get finished till 8 o'clock at night.
Oh,
So it's very hard and
Mm-mm.
very a lot of time consuming. So
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
I have another question. When you said Aunt Kay came down to audition you, what was it like? I mean, was it like the steps you had to do with the singing, or was it just the singing without the steps? What did you have to do, if you can remember?
The very first, Ann Kane, the very first audition, she told me, I was in my living room and she said, I need you to just sing and dance um, while you're singing and do something up tempo. And I can't remember exactly what I did, but evidently I sang good enough. Um, she probably just told me to sing a basic song. I remember when I had to audition to be on TV years later,
Uh-huh.
they made everybody do the same song, which was "You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine. You make me happy when times of, but you had to do it in a way that it was so creative that
Uh-huh.
they could tell whether you had talent by the way you were doing the song. If you just stood up there and sang, then they went on to the next person. But I'm sure Ann Kane did something very similar to that because I remember just dancing in my living room and she was pleased. She said, "Oh, that's great. I'll let Tina know I found somebody." Really? Okay.
I know, the singers today have that auto tune, and where it's very real back when y'all was singing, because y'all had to show that y'all had talent. Y'all had to literally sing. Y'all couldn't lip sing or y'all couldn't have sing. Y'all had to really show what kind of talent y'all had. And to me, that's wonderful because a lot of folks can't sing, but then they be making music over the craziest things. And to me, sounding terrible and having hit records, but to
Oh,
made back in those days, like I told you today, it was history. It had a meaning to it. It was a message in it. And nowadays musicians, to me, that's just me, don't have the positive message that y'all was singing about at the time that y'all was singing.
Yeah, I want to say that what you said. I feel like they are getting artists for their looks, not their talent. Because I remember watching this interview with Patti LaBelle, and so she said her growing up that people didn't call her the prettiest, and so she went to go have a audition with this man for this record company. And so when he went there, he said, "Well, I don't want her. She's an ugly black girl." And so then when she started singing, he said, "Well, I don't care anymore." So I feel like back then they didn't really care about how you look. They cared about how you sung and what your talent was. But now it's just all
mm,
about looks.
mhm, mhm. You could be right. They had an article about that too. And it's a sad state of affairs, but a long time ago, they wanted you to be more of a light-skinned singer, and they felt that your career would go further. I even remember hearing like a video clip of Beyonce's father. What's his name again?
I can't
Oh,
remember right now.
no, Matthew. It's
Mr.
Matthew.
Knowles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Matt.
Matthew knows. I remember him saying that he felt that light-skinned black singers would go further than brown skin. So whether that's,
Wow.
yeah, and that's on YouTube.
I agree. I agree because I agree with that. But so for you, you were light skinned. So were you treated better? And you said one of your parents were Caucasian. So were you treated better as a person in America?
I would have to say that maybe I got a pass over things that maybe other women would not have. So I have a tendency to think that maybe, yes, America was just really all that way. Even when you look at chorus girls, they would, they would want the lighter skinned chorus girls for shows. And but then after a while, it switched. And then they wanted more browns. If you're going to be a black person, then they wanted you to look like a black person. So it kind of switched, like I want to
Which
say,
roles?
yeah, maybe in the later 80s or something like that, even for dancers in troops and things like that. So,
Wow.
and actresses,
Most definitely. Can you kind of expound how was Soul Train? How was the dance?
performing on Soul Train?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then you mean with the honeycomb,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Okay. So with the honeycomb, I remember that we were the first artists to appear on Soul Train, so it was kind of new and it was kind of exciting. And but the outfits that we chose, the other two girls were fine, but the producers had problems with my dress because it was like a V cut and cut way low and way more provocative than Don Cornelius wanted us to look like on TV. So they came to the dressing room and asked me, could I change clothes? And I said, I didn't bring anything else. And so they tried to find some clothes for me. And I said, no, it's not going to work. I can't wear that. And so then they said, well, okay, then we're just not going to give you any close-ups. And I said, well, okay, whatever works. Let's just show, But I remember the kids that were watching and dancing. They were all real great. They loved us. They, clapped and they weren't allowed to try to interact with us. So Don had real strict rules. You don't talk to them. You don't try to get an autograph. You don't do any of that. So they were,
Wow.
yeah, they were very mannerable.
So I know y'all went twice, I think, or was that the same day? Because I know you had that black dress on, and then y'all went another time. And when I put that clip on my page, y'all was saying something about it's merely a cooperative detail.
We were so silly, okay? I think I told you we had seen that movie, The Mikado, and it was an Asian kind of, it was like a musical play. And the lead character would get in trouble, and instead of telling the truth, he would have this long thing he would start saying to people to get out of trouble. And so we learned it, and we would always use it on each other, when we were together, just fooling around. And so, yeah, so we probably should have rethought that though.
Because he had said stick to the strip girls.
Yes, this is right. I don't think he was too amused.
So it kind of seemed like y'all had a bond between y'all three ladies.
Yeah, we did. Because we were singers in LA, and we were making lots of money as session singers. Sometimes you could do 3, even 4 sessions in one day. The group that was the best with that was Edna's sister, Darlene and the Blossoms, and her group, the Blossoms. Those girls worked so much They worked so much that they were double and triple booked. And so it was good for Honeycomb. That's how we got together. They couldn't do the Andy Williams special featuring Dionne Warwick and Burt Bacharach. And Darlene called Edna and said, Edna, do you want to do this show? Because we're double booked, we can't do it. And so she said, yeah, let me find some girls. So she called Carolyn Willis, that's the lead soprano in the group, and Carolyn called me. I didn't know Edna. I hadn't met her until we were on stage. I think that was my first time meeting her when we did that Andy Williams special. And that's online somewhere too, under Andy Williams special featuring Dionne Warwick. So so she told Eddie Holland, I want you to watch, I want you to watch this group because we're trying to sign her as a solo. She didn't want to be a solo. She said, I want to be in a group. I want you to watch these 3 ladies, watch us and see if you like us. And so we did good. And Eddie called her back and said, you're right, this is great. This is a great group. I'll sign you guys. So so that's how we got together as the Honeycomb.
Good. Well,
I have a question. So I'm definitely gonna ask about one ads, but if y'all could like change any song with like any other group or solo artist, which song would y'all change?
You mean out of the songs that we did?
Yeah, if you could like switch a hit with any other group or solo artist, whatever, which song would you want to sing?
Oh, I see. Okay. I was so bummed when we didn't get to do Bring the Boys Home, Bring Them Back Alive, that they gave to Frida Payne because she was on our label. Is that what you mean? And I was so mad, and I kept saying, that song should have been for us. I just loved it. I loved it, and I was so mad they gave it to Frida, but she did a great job with it. So, I can't complain. I actually think I like the one, the other one with this. Was something about the ring. What was that song she did?
Oh, all that's left is a band of gold. I've been listening to that song on repeat.
I think that was the one I really wanted, the Band of Gold, because it sort of sounds like Honeycomb, something that we would do, right?
Yes, it would.
Very, very. I've been listening to that song on repeat. I want her on our show so bad.
Oh, okay. Well, she still, I know she still, does a lot of performances. Rita's great. So, and her sister Sherry too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, speaking
of,
go
ahead.
You can go ahead. Okay.
Actually, Sherry got one answer first.
She did?
And I actually, and she didn't like it. And I heard somewhere that they even tried to give it to Frida. And I don't know how true that is, but I know that Sherry didn't want it. And so Edna said, I love the song, I'll do it. And so that's how we got it.
And speaking of Sherry, so you told me that Mary Wilson of the Supremes asked you to be in the group, and Sherry was the one who got that spot.
Right. Mary called me and she said, I'm in a bad situation. I'm in a crunch. We need someone right away to I think it might have been to replace Jean. So she came over to I have to talk to you. It's real important. She came over to my house and she said, what do you think about being a Supreme? She said, I'm going to tell you, you're the first one I thought of. And I said, I am so flattered. I'm so honored. I really am. I'm honored that you asked me first. But I think I'm really just burned out from traveling and being in groups. And I just want to have more control over my career. And I just knew that when you're in a group, you have to appease the record company. You have to appease the girls that you're with. And sometimes it just gets to be overwhelming. And plus the fact that if you don't think you're making kind of money that you should be making, it's frustrating.
It
So
is.
I wasn't that anxious to get back into that kind of, especially we had Holland Dozier, which was spin-off of Berry Gordy. So to me, it was the same group with a different company, Honeycomb, Supremes, you know. So
Wow. That's what I was going to ask you, how was it? Was it tiring because you was always on the road and never hardly ever at home with your family? And, how frustrated, was it? Because I know when I'm not around my kids or my family, I get irritated or frustrated because, I'm always on the go. So, being said, y'all in a group and always traveling and performing and never hardly at home, that, it seemed like it would be tiring and frustrating that you would want just to sit down and rest for a while, pause it,
thank
and regroup and think.
well, nobody works harder than Tina Turner.
Yes.
And we were hitting those cities back to back to back to back. But in a way, I was a little younger, and you have that kind of energy.
Yes.
So by the time the Honeycomb came, it was already, one was the 60s and the other was the 70s. So we weren't hustling as hard as Tina was. Because I'm telling you, that's the hardest working woman in show business.
Yes, it is. Yes, she is. She just keeps moving no matter what.
Mhm. I was
She's
lucky.
always on the go.
I was lucky that she liked me because we're both fire signs. She's a Sagittarius and I'm a Leo. And I knew it meant a lot to her when she asked me, "What sign are you?" That's the first thing that she said, other than "What's your name?" The next thing was, "What sign are you?" And I said, I had my fingers crossed, "I'm a Leo." And she said,
Being
"Oh," she said, "We're going to get along just great. I'm a Sagittarius."
being on a professional level with Ike and Tina, how was it? Having being the professional, the band leader, the guitarist, and I mean controlling everything with the music. How was it with him?
Mm. I always thought to myself, this man is a genius of sorts because, in spite of what else anybody says, I mean, he had the first really all-girl crew. Now,
Hmm.
you have someone who's auditioning you who's a woman, and you have a road manager who's a young white female.
Hmm.
And Rhonda Graham was her name. She talked like a black person, and but still another woman. And
Hmm.
then I think it was Anne who may have actually done some of the bookings for us too.
Oh, okay.
And maybe even, maybe I did some too, but still. And then he's around, Ike has a lead singer, a woman, three backup girls. Ikettes, all women. So to me, that was like phenomenal that he
Most
had all
definitely.
this stuff going. He had his quirks and stuff,
Yeah.
but he only tried to bother me one time, and then that was it.
That
After I drew the line, that was it. He never tried anymore.
that's that's interesting, because I've read in several magazines and stuff that he couldn't even read music sheets, but he knew by ear,
Hmm.
how to pick up the music and what key it was, and if you was off just by a smidget, he knew it. And when we talked to you last time, you know you couldn't even have runners in your pantyhose. Your wig couldn't be crooked. Your makeup couldn't be. You had to look presentable. You had to look professional.
Right.
And I remember in one of Ike and Tina Turner's interviews where she talked about finding the girls. She said because they want to look great in the streets, but when they come on stage, they want to look tacky. And so to me, I thought that was kind of mean and kind of wrong because it seemed like to me, y'all did good. Y'all looked wonderful being on stage. And because y'all was sweating and moving and going crazy and still had time to breathe. To me, I thought y'all did wonderful. But when she made that remark, that to me kind of hurted me and kind of discredited her character as being a professional singer?
Well, as I remember, we didn't really run around we didn't have time to like run around in the street and go to nightclubs after the gig and all of that stuff. I remember just going back to the hotel and going to bed, getting ready to leave the next morning. No time for partying, trying to look cute and running around the streets and any of that. And I was the only Ikette, I think, in history that never wore a wig. And one time, Tina always positioned me next to her on stage. And she used to wear big jewelry. And one time we got close to each other on stage somehow. You know how you do that thing, bend over and come back up. Her hand got close to my hair and it wrapped around this ring she had. By the time for the next step, she threw her hand back. She pulled out a whole plug of my hair on the side.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was bald on the side. But yeah, I remember that. But yeah, so I never wore a wig, but probably I should have, because it was a pain in the ass trying to keep your own hair up sweating every night. And Ann Thomas had great, beautiful hair too, and she never wore her hair. It was always in long braids.
Yeah, she was a very, very beautiful, a very attractive young lady. Miss Ann Thomas was and is. But that, like I said, that was kind of, different, because I tried doing some of the steps, watching it on YouTube now, and I'm thinking, whoo, I didn't gain or lost about 30 pounds, of water, because they just so much moving and so much interacting with one another. And then how y'all looked it good when y'all went on stage, but boy, when y'all came out, it seemed like stuff was just smeared. And but it was a wonderful thing to see how y'all created the moves, how y'all came together as a family, because being on the road, y'all are a family, even though y'all got family off the road, but when you're on the road, that's still your family. And to me, how y'all got that way was wonderful.
That's right.
I have a question. Since y'all had to like maintain a certain weight, when y'all ate, could y'all like pig out, or did y'all have to like eat tiny salad portions and stuff like that?
That's a good question. I remember not ever really pigging out, but I remember one thing. Ann Thomas used to always have cornflakes every morning with I don't know if it was skim milk, maybe skim milk, regular milk, but it was no sugar. I once asked her, "Do you ever use sugar?" And she said, "Nope, never." And yeah, I thought that was interesting. And I mean, everybody was younger then, so you had a faster metabolism and you could burn it up. And but I don't remember us like picking out pizza and fried chicken and all of that stuff. I don't remember that eating any of that.
Now how and so sorry to hear about that tragic accident that y'all had, as being Ikettes. How did that affect your life after that?
After that accident, I said, well, maybe this happened for a reason. I'm supposed to sit down and not tour and not do too much for a while and just rest and gain my strength. I couldn't anyway. And so I think I just took little singing gigs here and there. But then 6 months down the line, I believe is when I got the call for Little Richard. And I think I was healthy enough because he didn't want a singer. He just wanted a dancer. So, So they found a partner for me, and he was the guy that used to dance on Laugh-In. And he was really cool guy, and I was well enough by then in order to start dancing again.
Okay. What songs did you dance for Little Richard on it?
Well, we opened the show up for him, so we weren't dancing to any of his hits.
Oh, okay.
We danced to the songs that the band would play, usually a cover of somebody else's stuff, you know, as long as it was up tempo. They were both, one may be up tempo and one was moderate tempo. And then we would dance to both. And then Little Richard, 2 songs, and then Little Richard would come out and he'd rock the house after that.
Oh, well, good. Do you have any memorabilias that you collected over the years from being in the Honeycomb, the Ikettes, or Little Richard? Do you have any of your old costumes or anything from that era?
Sadly, I don't have anything from the Richard era, just a lot of memories of him being crazy on the road and telling jokes and cracking stories. And with Ikettes, I don't think the same. I don't think I have anything from that period either. And I was just fortunate that someone found photos of me, because I couldn't even find photos of me on the road with her. And so recently some photos surfaced, the 1967 to 1968. It was me, Ann Thomas, and Cheryl, what was her last name? I think you said Williams, huh?
Williams.
Cheryl Williams. I didn't even know her last name until you told me. I forgot. But for the Honeycomb, I mean, I have some nice stuff from there. Not so much wardrobe or anything like that, but you know, we got great gold records and some plaques and that kind of thing. And you know, I had a lot of things encased, and so yeah.
May I ask what's you can go ahead. Okay. May I ask what's behind you?
What's behind me? Oh, it's a whole bunch of gold records. It's mixed up with my husband's and myself. Because I have, you know, we actually, Honeycomb, proud to say, had gold records before Earth, Wind, and Fire. And, but when they caught up, they really caught up, you know?
Yeah.
Because they just kept going. And Honeycomb stopped in 1973. But,
wow.
But yeah, so there's, you know, want ads and stick up and I can't remember, maybe One Monkey Don't Stop No Show, but you know, the rest is September and Let's Groove and and his stuff, you know.
I told my husband that we was going to be doing an interview with you, and he said, I said, do you know her? And he was like, no, at first. And I said, Earth, Wind, and Fire. He was like, oh my God. So he like just flipped a wig, because that's what, you know, he grew up on. And I he was like, well, let me be in your interview. I was like, no. Be my interview. No. But it's wonderful, like I said, to, you know, still have memories like that, still have, you know, all the gold plaques and stuff, and artists today don't realize with the gold plaques and all that, it comes with a price you got to pay, you know. We come from a singing background in our family, and being on the road, my grandparents and her 20 children, they sung all the time, but you know what, that comes wear and tear on your body, your health, you know, and everything else. So it's just a whole lot. But what would you tell the young artists today that's trying to get started in the music industry?
I would say, more than anything, the music may come kind of easy, but it's the business part of it that I find that people are lacking, and they don't want to learn about it. They just want to go on stage and perform, and all of that is good, but then you have to learn what to do with your money and your royalties and you know, your writers' fees and all of that stuff. You have to learn all of that. And now, like a long time ago, we didn't know what to do. We just had to learn if another person was willing to teach us. But now they have all kind of books on, you know, some of them are called The Industry of Music. And there's a great lawyer that we're friends with, that our kids went to school together, and his name is Don Passman. and he will recommend to everybody that's in the business to read his books. And I believe it's called The Business of Music. If it's not that, I'm close to it. But that's what you've got to find, you've got to get, because if you don't do that, then you're just singing until, and then what happens after that? You know, you don't know how to count your money and where it's coming from, and publishing companies. You got to know about the record companies, the agents, the managers, the publishing companies, all of that stuff is great to educate yourself, because then you're a well-rounded artist.
Well, I don't have anything else to say, but that I'm just honored and pleased to meet you.
Thank you.
And get a chance to talk to you, and to say that you are a very beautiful, preserved lady.
Oh, thank you.
And like I said,
I'm trying to keep up with my husband. Talk about preserved.
And it's just an honor. Like I said, I grew up. Like I said, I'm an '81s baby, but my parents played music, and soul music, jazz and blues and soul music. And that's my husband. You know, my kids laugh at me because they say, "Mom, you're almost 40, but you listen to older music." To me, I have an old soul, because that's what I really can relate to. You know, I can't relate to this music nowadays.
Do you listen to any rap or any hip hop?
No, ma'am. I'm from the 50s to the 70s. That's who I am. Yeah.
Same.
Right.
So, Miss Fire, I have a question. So, when you were wearing that costume on Hot City Disco, was it like heavy? Cause like you could see all the stuff was like the jewels or whatever was on it. Was that heavy on you?
Mm-hmm. That costume, I had to almost be damn near naked for them to take the measurements. I was standing on a table in the middle of the room, and they came in to measure me, and they said, "Oh, you got to take that off. You got to take that off." So I said, "Well, I'll just take it all off." So I was just standing there, and the costume was so revealing, and it was a guy named Lewis Wells that took all the measurements and stuff, and so when I got that thing on, it was almost like putting on a stocking, because the whole thing was just, you know, and then you had to be careful of the jewels, you know, they could scratch you, and then, you know, so it was tight more than it was heavy. It was just a tight outfit. And then the boots were kind of heavy. They were special made too. And so yeah, so that outfit, and then of course when I stood in front, came down on that elevator, and the pyrotechnics went off, it was a big explosion, and I was burned under the costume. I had to keep dancing. It's just like what you said, you know, it's not all fun and games out here. You know, you have to keep going.
You're getting burned.
Yeah, it was like Michael Jackson, you know, that commercial he did with the Coca-Cola. It was crazy. It was the same thing, except I was burned from head to toe.
Oh my goodness.
And I had to keep going. They actually sent a doctor to look me over, because all my hair was burned off, my eyebrow.
Oh my goodness.
Close to me. It was like a bomb. It was like a bomb. It just went off. And
oh my God.
So yeah, the outfit survived, but you know, my skin was like underneath. It was like painful from that point on to move, you know, in the show. But you know, you gotta suck it up, because you said,
and keep it moving.
Yeah, you know that, right?
Oh wow. Yeah, you got to keep moving. You can't stop.
Man.
Wow.
What a time.
Yeah, wow, that's a sad thing to hear, you know, that you had that accident. But you know, no wonder, because I was watching the video because he sent it to me, and I was like, why are they not bringing her up close? Why they kind of have her far back off? So, and then when they deal the outfit, I was like, kept looking like, is that Is she naked?
Yeah,
So,
right. That was wild. Well, I was supposed to be from outer space. I was an alien, and
oh, okay.
it was called Fire, Fyre. And the reason I came down to Earth was to get the party started. So, yeah, right.
You went out with a bang.
Blow me up, right? Blow me up and get the party started. So, so yeah, and that if you listen to the words, it's my name is Fire, and I'm burning hot, and I just came down to see what's up, right? Bodies spinning like 45s. Feed me music to stay alive. So that's the only reason I could stay alive on Earth, is if they played
Wow.
music. So those
I don't
lyrics,
think I could have done that. I would be like, stop the show. I'm
right?
on fire.
I'm on fire. I'm on fire. At one time they did, and they said, "Oh hell!" But they said, "Oh hell! Stop everything! Fire is what did they say? They said we knocked the wind out of fire, something like that. Like,
Fire is on fire.
yeah, fire's on fire. Stop everything." And so we had to do another take. And I said, "Don't put those bombs so close to me. I'm telling you." I was terrified.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Like I said, I couldn't even went on.
I know, right? Right. Well, you find a way,
Yes,
because
you do.
it's the nature of the business, you know.
Cause I couldn't do it. I would have said, you can find somebody that looks like me, or just
I know, right? Find somebody else.
that
No,
wasn't gonna work.
right? It's like standing in front of a firing squad. You know what's going to happen.
So,
Now, with the dresses as being I get y'all, did y'all fit it like in your outfit, or do they already have y'all's costumes made or outfits already together?
That is funny. You should ask that. And I think someone asked me, you were Jamarian, about the cleaning of the clothes. I have like a blank spot as to how we got the outfits. I believe that, I don't think we were fitted. I think they looked at us and just said, okay, small, medium, and large, you know.
Oh.
Maybe they did alterations out there on the road, you know,
Extra
so
large.
that they fit. But I'm telling you, I don't remember really how we got those clothes. As you can tell, it was 60s, kind of middle to late 60s, and our outfits weren't nearly as sexy as the ones that followed us. And
They're a little bit different.
right, they were just straight dresses, and they really weren't that short, were they? I don't think
Not
so.
really.
no, not
They
really.
came right to the knees,
Right to the
or a
knee,
little bit,
a
right to the knee.
little bit over, right,
Uh-huh.
right. And I think the same with the shoes. They weren't that sexy. And then they even told us we can't move front to back. Otherwise we'll be fine and thrown out, and they won't ask us back. So you girls have to shake side to side. No, if you notice those routines, I know you've watched a lot of them. If you've noticed them, they don't have a lot of that Michael Jackson front back movement.
No,
None
you
of
didn't.
that.
You didn't.
Not even
You
Tina.
did not.
Not even Tina. We had to be sexy. We had to be sexy in a different way. You know, shake your hair, and they gave us maracas. Do you remember that? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
We had to use maracas, and I would fine you if you were singing, doing anything that you weren't supposed to do up there. I thought for sure I had got away one time because his back was to us, and I missed a step, and I said, "Oh, good, his back is to us." He didn't see that. As soon as we get off stage, I saw that. That's a $5 fine for you. And I said, "Oh, damn, you caught me."
I didn't think you was looking.
Yeah, he wasn't looking. He had eyes in the back of his head. And that's another talent. You know, the man was just, he was, a genius with the music. He was a genius with I hear at one time, and Tina didn't want to wear short dresses, and he sort of forced her into them. And then once he did, and she had the best legs you've ever seen in your life.
She did have
They
a beautiful legs.
Right? They were like even from top to bottom. And then they used to play the dozens, all the Ikettes backstage about legs, and Tina would look at Ann and say, you know what? You don't have any ankles. your legs go from your calves right down into the shoe. You know? And they would laugh at each other's,
Yes.
misgivings,
Oh,
And,
wow.
yeah.
That's amazing.
I have a question. So how do you feel about because when you were growing up, there were protesters and marching for Black rights. So how do you feel about it now?
Well, now, I mean, it seems like we're in a new age with the same issues from before. I was living in LA in 1992 when they beat Rodney King half to death, and that was 4 officers on him, and I think they beat him for 15 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
And right, it was the first, I believe, cell phone video. We didn't know about the word viral, but it went viral because it went nationwide, worldwide, and people got to see these policemen, and they were just beating him to death. And I believe he was in a high-speed chase right before that. When they finally caught up to him, they dragged him out of the car. And probably he was a big guy, and so they probably were just afraid of him. I don't think he was resisting too much of an arrest, not with 4 guys on you, but they beat him into submission. I think they broke his jaw, all his teeth. They fractured his skull, and he had permanent brain damage. And
Yes,
sure enough, when that went to trial, maybe less than a year later, and they acquitted the 4 officers, 3 white, and I think maybe 1 Black or 1 Latino. When they acquitted all those officers, 3 hours later, LA erupted. And
the riot.
Yep, the infamous LA riots. They rioted so bad that even the police didn't go in there to try to stop it. They said, let those fools burn up everything. We are not about to get involved in that. People were making 911 calls. No police were responding. They would do drive-bys. They would come by and look at the riot and the looting and all of that, and they just keep going. And that was a hell of a thing to see. You're angry, but you don't know how to fix it, and you don't know what to do. You don't want the rioting because if they riot too close to your house, you're gonna want to call the police. But they didn't know what else to turn, so they burned up their own neighborhood in South Central. And it was even heightened by the fact that they had killed a young girl who went into a Korean liquor store to get orange juice. And the Korean owner, shot her thinking that she was stealing. And come to find out, she was trying to pay for it. Her name was Latasha something or other. And so we had that. Oh, and they gave him, the Korean liquor store owner, a $500 fine for killing her.
They didn't go to jail, just a fine?
Nothing, a $500 fine. And so we had that, plus Rodney King. And now everyone is seeing it. And so when the trial happens, we're saying, but what about the video? So that was the first time that they said, well, don't believe your eyes. These police officers were in fear of their life, and they were justified in breaking all his teeth and this and that and the other. So, those riots, I remember they pulled this white guy out of bad timing. He was in the wrong place in the wrong time. His name was Reginald Denny. He was in a truck coming through the riots. They pull him out of the truck and beat his ass half to death. Some good Samaritans, some Black good Samaritans, put him back in his truck he was half dead. They had to drive him in his truck to the hospital. And
Oh wow.
yeah, this poor guy, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
and so, here we are with the same issues, the same nonsense, the same police brutality. Eventually, those 4 officers, 2 of them were sentenced to 30 months in prison.
Just
For
30?
30 months in prison for civil rights conviction. And
Wow.
the other 2, they were fired. Yeah, they were fired. And they, all of them, after that, all of them left California. None of them stayed around here. I mean, it's probably for their own good. Right?
So,
We got to
so
get up out of here.
Yeah, we're going to leave. And so, but you see that everything calmed down, and, the world didn't get involved like they did with George Floyd. And I believe that that is going to be the difference. We have a different mindset, a different bunch of kids that got involved and spread like wildfire. And it went from New York to Washington to Minneapolis. Well, it was in Minneapolis, but it went everywhere. And then it went global and went worldwide. And so
It was even down here where we stay at. We had
you're in
a
Oklahoma,
march.
you're in Oklahoma?
Yes, ma'am.
here too, it was right. It wasn't riots, but it was marches, peaceful marches
Yeah,
down here as well.
Peaceful
yeah, we did a
marching?
peaceful march too here.
Well, this young generation is saying enough. Like, you civil rights people tried it. That was good. Okay, we made a little headway there with Martin Luther. We could vote and certain things happened.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the Jim Crow and segregation and all that stuff, right? It's been slow, but and then so the kids are saying, you
Enough is enough.
tried it with Rodney King. They were so scared. They forced for Rodney to come out and make that statement that we all laugh about. Can we all get along? Can we all just get along? They put him up there with his attorney, and he was begging for calm in the city. But
Yes.
I guess it did calm down, and after a while, no one kept up with the protesting anymore. But now we find ourselves right back where we were. But I really do feel that this time it's going to be a little bit different.
Yes. A little bit worse.
So how was it torn as an all-black girl group and as an all-black act with the Ikettes Tina Turner Review? How was it traveling down south then? How was it?
Well, I just remember that we just sort of stayed in our own little shell. We didn't try to, and of course, we were doing clubs that were expecting black acts. We didn't just show up, The worst was when I was touring in the 50s with Cab Calloway Review. When that review went down south, you really felt it because you saw the signs up that said white drinking fountain, colored, or you see colored bathrooms, and you had to stay in certain colored hotels. And my mother, being a white woman, couldn't travel with me down south. She had to go on her own or with some other white people. As Rhonda said in the Ikettes, remember, she explained the same thing was happening down south, that she couldn't travel with us. She had to travel with one of the white band members, and because it was basically against the law. I couldn't be seen with my own mother. It was against the law. So we're talking 50s, 60s, So of course, by the time the honeycomb came around, things were a lot better then. They didn't have all that Jim Crow stuff in place, by then.
Wow. I know you was mentioning, you couldn't be seen with your mother. our dad is a Caucasian male, so that was very difficult growing up in Oklahoma,
I bet.
because here you
Oklahoma.
see two little light brown girls, standing beside, this white man, and everybody's looking at you. But we kept asking our mom, and she was like, why everybody keeps staring, and she was like, oh, how times are. But now that I'm older, and I saw it, we used to get teased in high school. We just got called because my color now is from me standing in the sun so much, but all my life I had was the color of you, and they used to call us Heinz 57 and porch
Call you
monkeys,
Heinz
and
57.
yeah, yes, they used to call us, yes, Heinz 57 in school.
What does
Yes,
that mean?
ma'am.
Wait, but that
We're a
means
mixture.
that means that you be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's crazy. I remember going to school when I was young like that, and when we were in New York, they really didn't like it. My father was in fights a whole lot walking down the street. They call her a nigger lover and all kind of stuff, and he would turn around and start, so he went to jail a whole lot for that. But in school, when she would come to school for open house and show up and say, hi, I'm Michelle Clark's mother, the teachers would look at her like she had 6 heads. What?
Yeah, like what?
That's a Negro. That's a Negro child. And so the very next day, all the teachers would be real angry with me, and they would just say real inappropriate things. And I thought to myself, okay, I see what happened here. Wait, I'm a child, but I see what happened here. She came to the school.
You didn't met my mom.
They didn't understand it, and they took it out on me. And I asked her never to come to school again, send my father. And so that's the way we worked.
Oh, wow.
We had to work around the system because I don't think interracial marriages were legal until 1967. Now that's, a few years ago. Right? It was.
Yes, I remember when Ike was, he said in his book and even on the interview that he had to have Rhonda do things because, dealing with the people, because, they didn't allow blacks to do a lot of things. So Rhonda had to be the go-to person in between.
Yeah, she used to have to go in front and make sure it was okay. I know that it was basically it was a felony, for you to intermarry. And that started like back in the 1800s, long time ago. But I think that the case was overturned. They had a movie about that lady Mildred and her husband. His last name was Loving, and
yes, they did.
White. He was white, and that was a good movie.
Yes, it was. I love that movie.
It went before the Supreme Court. Finally, 1967? My God.
Yes, ma'am. Broke the barrier. Yes, ma'am.
Poor,
he was black and he was white.
Right. Backwards way of thinking. Now, that's a lot of love right there, because a lot of people would have just said, you know what?
Call me later.
Right?
Y'all stories remind me of that old movie when the mom was the maid, and she had the girl. So the girl was light. The girl was light, and the mom was dark skinned, and she was a maid.
Was that the Imitation of Life?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great movie. But everybody just cried at the end, because they couldn't believe that after the mother died, she was all sorry, but you were mad at her still, and you were like, how dare you, how dare you disavow your mama? but she was trying to get ahead,
She was.
I remember.
Do you have anything else?
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna let her finish, and then when she was ready to leave, then we can end it.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, finish.
Wait, don't you have one last question?
Who?
Both of you. No?
Well, I do have one last question.
Okay.
Was you ever invited to any of the Turner's functions at their home as being an Ikette?
I remember going one time, and it was
Come in.
for a rehearsal. I think it was for a rehearsal.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember. I think it ended pretty quickly because they weren't getting along too much.
Okay, because I saw how they had the swim pool parties and stuff, and the cookouts and stuff. So I didn't know how, how the Ikettes, if they was able to come to any of the cookouts or Turner functions with the family.
Yeah. No, I didn't hang out with them. I think I went up one time with a girlfriend of mine, and it could have been a rehearsal / something. So, hi.
So.
Oh, that was my son. He wanted to see me talking to.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mary.
What I was about to say. I forgot, but
That's okay.
I want to remember so bad, but
I guess we covered a lot. I wanted to thank you for having me on. Sometimes
and we want to thank you too.
Sometimes it's very cathartic to just talk about your life the way it was, and so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And we want to say thank you too for blessing us with your knowledge and being a legend of the music industry, and just being a legend as being a Black woman, going through a lot in those times, and still be able to remember things. And we want to just say thank you to you and your husband for just being a music legend.
Oh, and tell your husband that his music videos with Earth, Wind, and Fire, they made my head hurt. No, it was just with all the colors and the shadows and.
Okay, Jen, I'm
I know that's 50 years, right? That's like 50 years of entertainment nonstop. But we give thanks to you guys, because without you, there is no Honeycomb, there's no Ikette, there's no Earth, Wind, and Fire. There's nothing. You guys make it happen for us. So thank you for your love and support through the years, and we honor and appreciate you, and hope you stay around for another 50. Wait,
you know what
they say? Without the audience, it's just a rehearsal, right?
That's all. It's
just a rehearsal without the audience.
Well.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, Jamarianne and Lakia, thank you so much. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.